Hello, everyone. I am Adrian Bowens.
And I'm Nicole Bowens. And we thank you for tuning in today for another episode of Marriages of the Kingdom with Adrian and Nicole. We are coming to you from WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network out of Charlotte, South Carolina. And we do appreciate your donations as we are a nonprofit organization. Before we begin our show on today, we would like to take the time to recognize our Kingdom Business Connection for this week, which is Blessed Events. Blessed Events is owned and operated by Alicia Richardson, and they are available to bring the next event that you have to life. They can assist you with planning and decorating for your next event. In the near future, they will also provide photography services. To contact them, please call 864-517-2685 or send them an email at blessedeventsSC@gmail.com. Again, our Kingdom Business Connection for this week is Blessed Events. So again, we would like to thank you for tuning in and joining us on today. Our special guest for today is minister, author, and mentor, Miss Tammy Carpenter. Welcome, Tammy. We're so happy to have you with us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're so happy to have you. Also, Tammy, we want to share with the viewers before we get started and just make sure that they understand that Marriages of the Kingdom is not just about married couples. Marriages of the Kingdom was also developed to help build single individuals to prepare them for marriage. And that's why we have you on here today, as a single person, so you can shed some light to those single men and women on how it is that you maintain your relationship with God as a single young lady. Amen?
Amen. It is very important topic of discussion because we look to you, married guys, for guidance and wisdom as we wait.
Very good. Very good. Again, welcome, Tammy, on this day. So we'll go ahead and just jump right in.
Okay.
So, Tammy, if you will, just share with us a little bit about how long you've been single and some of the things that you encounter as a single woman as far as dating or not dating.
Well, I'm in my early 40s and never been married, so single all my life. But as far as my last relationship, it's been about 3 years. And that's one of the things as a single person who's making the stance to abstain from sexual intercourse until my last name is changed by my husband. I have found that dating and relationships are few and far between because everyone doesn't uphold your same standard. And if you know what it is you're trying to do, you have to make sure that your environment is conducive to keep you on track for that. So dating is little to none, but you do have to open yourself up to get to know people. But the way I do it myself, and I always tell the young ladies that God allows to bring across my path, is to lead with your standard. So if you know that you don't intend to make this relationship a sexual relationship outside of marriage, you need to make that known up front. Because unfortunately, that's what a lot of people are entertaining these days, and they get into relationships just for that purpose and that reason. Mm-hmm. And you find yourself compromising your standard in order to keep a status. And you should never do that.
That's good. That's very good. That is very good. And that is so commendable because you really don't hear that in this day and time about young ladies or men, keeping themselves for their mate, for their spouse. You don't hear that. That's one of the things that we find that, a lot of times as Christians, we can walk everything else out in the Bible except for that one thing, because for some reason, everyone feels that they need somebody. And sometimes I think a lot of times with women, they feel if they don't give that of themselves, if they don't give of the sex, then they're going to lose the relationship. And it's very commendable that you understand that your first relationship is God. That's the first
Exactly.
relationship that comes before anything. So that is very commendable. It is.
Yeah, I too also would just let you know as well, being commendable, just to being able to hold up your standard.
Yes.
Sometimes a lot of people will speak about standards and they'll say they have standards, but when certain situations arise, then we find out that their standards are going to be lowered. So I
Right.
think it's very commendable that you do have those standards and that you hold up to them as well.
Right. Yes. And it's very interesting because I've had men actually tell me that, ladies in the church, they say that all the time. Oh, I'm waiting on my husband. But most men just wait around for the opportune time because they know you're going to slip.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've actually had, a guy tell me, wow, you're really one of the rare ones because everybody else says it, but they eventually end up doing it. But your no means no. And again, I'm leading with it. And once I tell you, if I keep having to tell you that sex is off the table, then you're already showing me that you're not for me. So if that becomes a combative situation, then the relationship is already heading in the wrong direction. So it's not, as the word says, how can two walk together if we don't agree?
Right. Absolutely.
I'm disagreeing about my standard because my standard isn't changing.
That's good. That's
very good. That's very good. All right. So Tammy, what are some of the things that you do to help yourself stay focused during this wait for your husband?
I think knowing who I am and learning more about myself and my purpose has really helped me stay the course for it's been 14 years now. So like I told a young lady recently when I made that decision, again, 14 years ago, because of, in my younger years had decided to entertain such relationships and started on the course of abstaining, slipped up, and then again, after a relationship ended those years ago, I was like, okay, God, I really want to do it your way. I really want to preserve myself for the man who deems me valuable enough to change my last name. So one of the scriptures that really became life to me at that time was 1 Corinthians 7:35, where, and it says, and this I speak for your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you, but for that which is comely, that you may attend upon the Lord without distraction. So for me as a single person, if I am focusing on who God says I am, if I am focusing on what he has in front of me, if I am really pursuing my place of righteousness, I don't really have time to entertain these other things that would be distractions. So it's not, that scripture for me let me know that the things that I feel like I am missing or can't do are not a snare. I'm not in prison. I'm not missing out on anything. I am just being kept from distraction so that I can do what I need to do for him.
That's good. That is very good. And we know, we're talking to single men and ladies on today. And sometimes, we understand it's not easy. This is not an easy task for any of us. We're married now, but we've been single at some point. And so it is not an easy task, but it is a decision that we can choose to make. And like you say, uphold that standard and don't waver one way or the other. What are some of the actual tangible things that you do that actually help you not to put yourself in the situations where you could slip and fall in this area?
Great question. And I will agree with what you said. And I've said that again myself, because I think sometimes when people meet someone who's been abstinent for X amount of years, they think that you have some kind of superpower or that you have some magic dust. No, you're challenged with it. You still, if you've experienced it, you still desire it. So it is a choice. So some of the things that I do personally, I don't listen to all types of music. I don't have anything against anyone who does, but I know if music for me is going to trigger a memory, then I don't need that memory that I can't do anything about it this time in my life. Same thing with what I watch. I don't watch a lot of sexually charged movies and television shows, because again, that's going to trigger something that's going to remind me of what I used to do that I'm trying not to do anymore. So I'm very careful with guarding my gates, my eyes, my ears, and even who I keep around me. If I know that my friends are very, very sexually involved or plan to be sexually involved, I'm not going to spend the majority of my time hanging around you, because we don't have a lot in common in that area. So I don't even want to put myself in that situation where I start hearing what you have going on and then have to desire what it is that you have. And I think that's what a lot of us end up with being our challenges today, because social media, everybody's life is at the flick of your finger, looking at your phone or your computer, and things seem to be one way, but we never know what's going on behind the scenes. So we allow those things to be a distraction to us and fall into temptations and relationships just so that our lives can look like someone else's. So I've had to separate myself from a lot of things and people, not in a position that I'm better or that what I'm doing is better than what you're doing. It's just a decision that I've made to maintain this stance for me until that time comes.
That's easy.
Very good.
Yes. And then also, and Tammy, I know you don't have children yet. You don't have any kids yet. But please provide our single viewers, men and women, with some tips as to how those that have children from previous relationships, the best ways for them to interact when it comes to dating and involving their children in that process when it comes to dating.
Yeah, like you said, I don't have children, but I would. We know that children are very, very observant. Just because we don't say a thing to them does not mean that they don't see it or they don't watch it. So being very careful and being very mindful of how we conduct ourselves in relationships with our children. And if we know that a person is temporary, then don't allow that person a place in your child's life so that they are having to relearn a new person over and over again because you're still seeking and trying to fill this void. And also, as children get older, they are watching, whether you are communicating with them or not, what you're doing in relationships. And one of the things I did recently with some of the young ladies that I'm involved with through my nonprofit is that I asked them, what is it that your parents, the adults that have great influence over you, what did they teach you about relationships? Not what they told you, what did they show you? And we would be surprised if, as parents, those that are single parents, if they sat down with their children and asked them, when you look at me, what am I showing you about being in a relationship? What am I showing you about being married? Because it's not what I'm telling you, it's what I'm doing that you're really going to pick up and run with. So it's our actions that they're gravitating towards. So I would say be very, very careful with how you interact with those that you're desiring to be in relationships with, because that's what they're going to pick up first. Not what you say, it's what you do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when single people are dating, and dating is just that, it's dating. You're trying to figure out if you like this person or don't like this person, if this is something that can be lasting or not. And until you make that decision and know for sure, it's not beneficial for you to introduce that person to your child.
Right.
Because as we know with kids, especially young kids, they get attached very easily, and it could be somebody that's personable and somebody that they actually like. And you might not necessarily like them, for the long term, and now your child is attached to that person. So now they go through a separation anxiety because of decision that you've made that might not have been the most wise decision. So it is best for us to make sure that, when we're single, make sure that we have spent enough time with that person to know that this is somebody that I could possibly spend the rest of my life with before we introduce them to our children.
Correct.
Absolutely. Now, and we encourage a lot of single people that when they do find that someone that they're real interested in, it's real easy to get caught up in the euphoria and all of that, and you have the googly eyes and all of this going on. But speak on how important it is to make sure that if you're in that state, that you follow the interview process.
And it's funny you say that. I had a conversation with some young ladies recently, and I don't know if it's culturally or if it's church driven. we don't always date very well. And what I mean by that is we meet someone and immediately we're thinking about a long-term relationship and a life with this person, and we barely know their last name, where we haven't spent that time, whether you want to call it courting or call it dating, whatever you call it, but be okay with the fact that I'm just getting to know you. And 3 weeks into this, if I'm learning more about you that is not conducive to where we're going, I'm okay with parting ways. I haven't given you anything in and of myself and vice versa. So if we can focus on just being comfortable with getting to know people and not trying to change a relationship status on social media or trying to go ahead and plan a wedding with someone that you don't know their credit score yet, you know, we jump in head first like it's gold at the bottom of the swimming pool and it's a swamp. So you need to be comfortable with really allowing yourself to get to know people, and then be confident enough in yourself that if you have to walk away, you walk away and not feeling like you're missing out on something. Because I think we often stay in things too long because we don't know when the next one is coming. So just because you're here, I'm going to try to do everything to make you fit this mold, and I already know you're not it. So being comfortable with, you know, we're just getting to know each other and we're both mature enough to walk away if that's what the result needs to be.
That's good. That's good. And one thing I heard you mention was knowing how to date well. We don't know how to date.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me and my husband, our first date, you know, he didn't know if I was crazy. He didn't know if I didn't know, vice versa. We just didn't know. So our first date was at Wild Wings downtown at lunchtime around a lot of people. So, you know, I felt safe in that environment. There were a lot of people around. It was daytime. And I tell single ladies now, go on lunch dates. Take the time to go on lunch dates. Don't go to restaurants with the lights dimmed and the candlelight and all of that. It changes the mood. It puts you into a place of now you're having the googly eyes going on and all of this, as opposed to you really sitting trying to get to know this person and being able to pick up on the things that you need to pick up on to have a normal conversation without it having some type of sexual connotation going on around there. So you want to make sure that you're in an environment that's conducive for that. And nighttime, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, candlelights and dim lights is not the place for single people.
Absolutely.
It's not the place for single people at all.
Very good. Very good. And I know, Tammy, you spoke a few minutes ago about that environment. Tell us again, just speak on a little bit more just to how important an environment can be and what it's all about, and certain environments that you may try to stay away from.
Well, I think initially when you're in that dating and getting to know you process, you don't need to be going to their house. They don't need to be going to your house. There's no need for you to know where I live, and you just met me. So this, like Minister Nicole said, public places, meet up, go to dinner, at a reasonable time when everybody else lights going off, then we should be in our separate houses, our lights going off as well. So knowing, one, that, you know, we don't have to be out, as they say now, Netflix and chill. No, if we're gonna watch a movie, we're gonna go pay at the theater to watch a movie. We're not cuddling up on my couch or yours to watch a movie, because again, if I'm familiar with where that leads me, why would I put myself in that situation to have to resist the temptation that I know is coming? So and being careful, one, not spending a lot of alone time together. Not saying that you're not mature enough to be alone, because if you are that bad off, you probably don't need to be dating, but also knowing what your boundaries are. If we are going to be alone, you know, what time are you going home? What time am I going home? You know, not being careful if you're gonna, how much touching and how much contact you have. You know, what's off limits, keep your hands above shoulders and up. So you have to, you know, those things sound strange, but if you don't make them known, you never know what a person's background is. So if someone else was okay with them touching all over them, but your standard is, I'm not doing any of that, and if that's not known, that's going to be an issue. So you have to not only keep your environment conducive, you have to be vocal about what your standard is. So keeping it public, keeping and keeping the standard when you are alone. So you're not, again, we're not children, so we can be alone, but we know what our limits are when we are alone.
Yeah, and I love what you were saying about being vocal. That's very, we can assume, just like yourself, you've been celibate for 14 years, but you can't go out with someone and assume that they know that, okay, these are your standards. Like you said, you have to be vocal about that, you know. So when you're out on a date and, you know, they hug you and the hands get a little low, then, you know, no, I need you to keep your arms up here, you know. I don't need your hands down there. And that's very important to do that up front because, and I've heard my husband say it before, you know, him being a pastor, being a man of God, but I've heard him say before, if you do not make standards for yourself as a woman, a man will make standards for you. They just will. And men will do what you allow them to get away with, you know.
Exactly.
And so, you know, that's important for women to understand that is, you know, set those standards and stick to those standards. Don't deviate from those standards. Because really at the end of the day, men, they're chasers. They love that chase. They're like lions. They love that hunt. And once they conquer, it's kind of like, okay, what's next? You know, there's nothing else left there. But when you are able to wait and to abstain, and like you say, obtain that man's last name, you know, there's fire, there's passion, there's something in that that's involved in that. And that's what all single people should be willing to do, men and women. It's not just for single women, single men, you know, there's something that's exciting about that. It's something to look forward to.
Right.
You do everything before you get married, then you're kind of just married.
Exactly.
You've done everything, you know.
You have not set yourself apart from any other person when you are doing what everyone else is doing. And I heard my pastor say this years ago when I first joined the ministry, that being sanctified is being set apart, and a man is keeping a woman common until he changes her last name. So you are not set apart. He has not sanctified you. He has not made you any different from any other woman when he's just dating you or just keeping you around for the sake of being in a relationship. So yeah, you're doing what everyone else is doing. And once you give them the one thing that's completely yours, and every woman has one, but once he gets yours, he's just gonna want the next one because you're no different than she was.
Well, we appreciate you sharing all this with us. And I'm looking behind you and I see here Life Speaks. Tell us a little bit about Life Speaks. Give us some history on that.
Yes, ma'am. Life Speaks is the first book that I published a little bit over a year ago, and it covers about a 10 to 15 year period in my life of some various things that I went through, including relationships, broken relationships, death in the family, church hurt. And a lot of times when things are happening, it seems to be back to back in your life. It's almost like, God, where are you? You know, why is all this happening? Why am I going through this? But he was able to show me during those moments, after I saw the end result of many of those things, that he was really ordering my steps. So that's the concept of Life Speaks, that he really is talking, he is speaking, he's guiding, even in our darkest moments. So that's the title of my first book. And it's one of my mantras that I live by, just knowing that wherever I am, that God is still moving and he's still speaking.
Yes, and I know you mentioned a nonprofit also earlier. Can you tell us a little bit about your nonprofit? I know it's for young ladies, I think 18 to 35 years old.
That's correct, yes. In 2013, I founded a nonprofit by the name of Enlife, ENLIFE, and it is for young ladies 18 to 35. And our mission is to help young ladies succeed through times of transition. And the way that we do that is through open forum sessions, workshops, different events and programs to get the right information in front of them, so that when they are faced with things, whether it's relationships, finances, career, they have good information to weigh and make a good decision. Because a lot of us, I know for me, when I was younger, you find yourself with regrets because you didn't know what to do in situations. So you just did either what your friends told you or what felt the best at the time. But if you have people that have already walked some of those courses that are willing to share their journey with you, then you at least have some wisdom with pushed to make the decision. So that's really the primary drive with which I do that, because I want young ladies to be able to know what I didn't know when I was their age, and to be able to blossom a lot earlier than some of us did because we didn't know any better. So that's one of the things that gets a lot of my time and attention. And we also offer for the younger ladies a college care program. So for young ladies enrolled in college full-time that meet certain requirements, we send them off to school with care packages that value about $150 to $200, just full of all kinds of supplies and things. And then during the holiday season when they're home, we re-up them again with some supplies just to help ease that financial burden on them in school with different types of hygiene products. And we started last year with a book allowance program. So out of those students, some of them will also be awarded a book allowance to help with that area of education as well.
That's great. That's
Very good.
great
Very
information. Tell us if someone wants to contact you for a speaking engagement, to purchase one of your books, to donate to your In Life nonprofit, how do they reach out to you?
Well, business related with my book, speaking engagements, they can contact me via my website through my business, which is Effectual Concepts. So if they go to effectualconcepts.com, so that's EFFECTUALCONCEPTS.com. There is a contact us link on there. Or if they just prefer to do the old fashioned and send me an email, effectualconcepts@gmail.com or info@effectualconcepts.com. That will get to me in either facet. We do have a Facebook page and a blog for my nonprofit organization, In Life. So instead of inundating them with all that information, if they contact me through Effectual Concepts and they have an inquiry about In Life, then I can channel it appropriate through there. So that they can go to the website and reach out from there.
Okay, wonderful.
Very good. All right. Very good. Thank you so much again, Miss Tammy Carpenter, for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Very well. Very well. We truly appreciate you for tuning in with us at WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. We would love to hear from you. So please feel free to contact us, leave a review for prayer, or to receive additional resources. You may contact us at our website, marriagesofthekingdom.com. Again, that's marriagesofthekingdom.com. You can email us at marriagesofthekingdom@gmail.com, marriagesofthekingdom@gmail.com, or you can link with us on our Facebook page, Marriages of the Kingdom with Adrian and Nicole. Or if you want to do the old-fashioned way, you can call us at 864-553-8643. Again, that's area code 864-553-8643. So until next week, be blessed and be intentional about your marriage.